Joining us now from New York to talk about that and more, our senior analyst Jeff Toobin, our own Jack Cafferty, and our senior political analyst Gloria Borger. They're all part of the best political team on television. What's the answer? What do you think, Jack? How damaging potentially could this be?
Well, potentially it could be very damaging. A couple of quick points on Howie's piece. Newsrooms that don't have arguments and discussions about sensitive pieces before they're put into papers or broadcast on the air are news organizations you don't want to go within 10 miles of because they're no good. That's part of the process. The other point is it isn't about whether he and this lobbyist had a romantic relationship. That has nothing to do with anything. Nobody cares, except if it's true, I'm sure his wife would be disappointed. The issue is whether she had extra access or access that was somehow improper when he was the head of the Senate Commerce Commission, and whether with that access she was able to gain advantage for her clients who had business before the Senate Commerce Committee. Has nothing to do with whether or not he had something going on the side. Nobody cares.
You've studied these kinds of stories, Gloria, for a long time.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, it's sort of hard to parse it. It's a really long piece. Obviously, there were arguments in the newsroom about this. I can't question, as Babe Buchanan did earlier, the New York Times' motives. I think when a newspaper's ready to run a story, you know, it runs a story. But there are two stories here. The question of an illicit affair, which, as Jack says, what is that? Who cares about that except evangelical conservative voters, perhaps? But the other question is, John McCain is a reformer. That is his brand. Did he play favorites with any lobbyist? And the question is, did the Times prove that? And the answer is, not so sure, because did John McCain just ask for regulatory clarity to speed up a process that had already taken twice as long as it should take? Yes, he did that. Is that a favor? Does he do that for tons of lobbyists? Do all senators do that for tons of lobbyists? Of course they do.
And let's not forget, though, Jeff, that before the New York Republican primary, the New York Times on its editorial page endorsed John McCain. They slammed Rudy Giuliani, the New Yorker, in the process. So this is the same newspaper which has got quite a sensational story today, but also endorsed them only a few weeks ago.
Well, I have to say I question how sensational the story is. I don't think there is much damaging material in this story. I think there is an innuendo of a relationship between this McCain and this woman, and as for any connection to favors, boy, I didn't see it even asserted, much less proved. But I have to disagree with Jack and Gloria, who are dismissing the idea that an affair is of any significance. I mean, come on. It may be of no significance to you, but this is still the United States, the country where Monica Lewinsky lives. And if John McCain was proved to have an illicit relationship for good or ill, that would have been a huge story. And
how do you account for Bill Clinton's approval ratings when he left office after Monica Lewinsky and the impeachment being at the height of his 8 years in office? I just don't think the public cares.
Well, he was also impeached in the interim, so it was quite an inconvenience.
And he still had high approval
but can I just say, I don't think it's about the affair. It's with Bill Clinton, although it may have. It's about the lying and the question of the lying. And today, John McCain did something that was very important. He stood up in that press conference and he denied bluntly all charges of whether he had an illicit relationship with this woman and whether he played favorites with this woman in terms of her lobbying and her clients.
Reminds you of that line, I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
But he put himself out on a limb here. I talked to a top McCain advisor today who said to me, John McCain would never go out and lie. So he has put himself on the line. These stories tend to get legs. We'll have to see what happens
One
next.
of his fiercest critics, Rush Limbaugh, who's been very critical of John McCain over the years, Jack, he said this today. Listen.
It's a great opportunity here for Senator McCain to learn the right lesson, understand who his friends are and who his enemies are. And he's had that backwards for way too long.
All right, Jack, what do you think?
Oh, Rush Limbaugh is just making a lot of noise as usual. They were running a very serious risk of becoming totally irrelevant in this campaign. Now, all of a sudden, McCain needs the conservatives, and the conservatives can support the candidacy of McCain in the face of attacks by that three-headed monster, the New York Times. I mean, it's just caca.
Gloria, let me just bring up Gloria and then Jeff. The Mike Huckabee factor in all of this. He's been staying in the race seemingly without any good reason given the math involved, but he said he believes believes in miracles. He says maybe there could be a YouTube moment referring maybe to a macaca moment, if you will. You think he was waiting for something, Gloria, like this to happen?
You know, I don't know. I know that there were rumors about this story going way back before Christmas when it was on the Drudge Report, actually, or the rumor that the New York Times was working on this piece. So it was no secret in all the other campaigns that some story about John McCain might come out. I mean, you know, who knows what's in Mike Huckabee's mind at this point.
What do you think, Jeff?
Well, barring some additional disclosure, I think this story is going to go away very quickly because I just don't think there's anything much there to talk about. I don't think there's. I was surprised by McCain's denunciation of the story as false. There isn't really an accusation there to be false. I just think it's actually a 1 or 1.5 day story.
All right, stand by, guys. We're going to continue this.